Good morning, class 10 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagrati Classes. We were doing chapter 6 of class 10th, life processes. So we'll be continuing with our chapter. So this video is for class 10th and we were doing chapter 6, that is life processes. In this chapter we have gone through the introduction, then we saw the topic of nutrition, different kinds of nutrition present in different organisms, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. Then we saw the first system of nutrition in humans, that is the digestive system. And I told you that in each and every part how digestion takes place, what are the different enzymes which are being released by different parts. Then we saw in the last, that is we started respiration. So after starting respiration, I told you the basic difference between two terms, respiration and breathing. So I hope you know that respiration and breathing are two different terms. And then yesterday in the previous class, we saw the passage of air, that is how the air is entering into our lungs from the environment and how this air is released. Then we saw two kinds of breathing, that is two processes involved in your breathing, inhalation and exhalation, and I gave you a comparative account between both these processes. So today's class, we'll see the process of respiration. We'll be starting with respiration today. We have completed a part, that is breathing, which is also involved in respiration itself, because breathing tells you the passage of air, which we dealt with in the first part, and then we saw two processes of breathing, inhalation and exhalation. And for inhalation, what the conditions required for inhalation, we observed that while if you want to inhale the air, then the diaphragm, which is present as a curved shape, it converts to flat shape, then the ribs are lifted up, the lung cavity or thoracic cavity increases in volume. This everything we dealt. Now we are talking with respiration topic. So respiration, as I already told you, it involves breakdown of complex materials into simpler forms, and this breakdown occurs generally in the presence of oxygen. So this breakdown is called respiration. Whenever this breakdown, it occurs in the presence of oxygen, then this kind of respiration is known as aerobic respiration. And the next is what? If this breakdown of complex material into simpler forms occurs in the absence of oxygen. If this occurs in absence of oxygen, then this kind of respiration is called anaerobic. This also we saw in the last lecture. Then I also told you a term, what do you mean by cellular respiration? Cellular respiration, each and every individual cell present in the body of any organism undergoes the process of respiration. In simple terms, we can say when respiration occurs in every cell, this is called cellular respiration. Okay? Then we also discussed aerobic and anaerobic, the examples that anaerobic is exhibited by simpler forms or by advanced forms also when they do not get sufficient amount of oxygen, whereas aerobic are when you have excess oxygen, that is efficient amount of oxygen in the environment, or it is shown by the advanced plants and animals. Then as a result of aerobic respiration, you get large amount of energy, while this anaerobic respiration, it produces very small quantity of energy. So we say that in anaerobic respiration, we get very smaller quantities of energy compared to aerobic, in which we get large amount or high amount of energy is being released. So now we'll see how this breakdown process or how cellular respiration occurs. So we'll be dealing with cellular respiration. And now we'll see the mechanism of cellular respiration. Mechanism means how the process of cellular respiration occurs in organisms. So we say that respiration is breakdown of complex material into simple forms. So what complex material do you have in your body? In our body, we studied in nutrition that complex materials which are formed, either you can say in plants also, during photosynthesis, plants synthesize their own food, and that food was what? Complex carbohydrate, that is glucose. So we say that in any organism, considering animal or plant, you have complex carbohydrates as the food. But these complex carbohydrates cannot be directly used to obtain energy. What is our main aim? We want to get energy from whatever we have produced during nutrition while eating. So these complex carbohydrates need to be broken down into simpler forms to obtain energy. And these complex carbohydrates, the very simple example would be glucose. If you remember the equation of photosynthesis, 6 CO2 plus 6 water molecules in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll were giving you glucose molecule. And the formula of glucose was C6H12O6. So this what we have as a nutritious food present in organism's body, complex carbohydrate. And if you look at the formula carefully, you can easily see that it contains 6 carbon. C6 means it has 6 carbons in its structure. So this can also be called as a 6 carbon containing compound. So glucose is a 6 carbon containing chemical compound. Okay? Then this glucose, we are talking with cellular respiration, so please keep the structure of cell in your mind. These complex carbohydrates are being broken down into simple carbohydrates, or you can say simpler forms. And for the exact example, if you say, then this glucose molecule, which is a 6 carbon containing compound, this breaks down to form pyruvate. So glucose, which was complex carbohydrate, breaks down into simpler forms, which is pyruvate. The formula for pyruvate, if you talk of, is C3H4O3. So you can see easily from the formula that pyruvate is a 3 carbon containing compound. So yes, the 6 carbon containing compound broke down to form a simple 3 carbon compound. So this is pyruvate, it is 3 carbon containing compound. So compared to glucose, this pyruvate is a much simpler molecule because it only has 3 carbon now in its structure. Now this process of breaking complex carbohydrate into the simple carbohydrate or pyruvate, this process occurs in cytoplasm of cell. Either you talk of aerobic respiration or you talk of the anaerobic process. In both these, the first step is same. That is, in aerobic and anaerobic respiration, this first step of breaking down of glucose into pyruvate will only occur in cytoplasm. So this is valid for both. We are talking of aerobic and anaerobic, both types of respiration here. So this first step is common for both. No differentiation is present in the first step, and please remember it occurs in the cytoplasm of cell. Now the next process would be what? These simpler forms. Our main aim was not to get simpler forms pyruvate. Our main aim was what? We should get energy from anything we have eaten. So till now we do not have energy with us. So this is not completed, and one more step occurs. Now this step is divided into 2 classes. That is, now the next step or the second step would be different for aerobic and anaerobic processes. This was your first step, and it was common for aerobic and anaerobic processes, and it occurred in cytoplasm. Now, the second step if we deal with in aerobic process. in aerobic conditions, then what we have is aerobic conditions, you can say in humans, in developed organisms, plants. So in aerobic condition, which means presence of oxygen. So in presence of oxygen, this pyruvate, which is a 3-carbon containing compound, breaks down further. We have our pyruvate, and this pyruvate would break down further and would be converted into carbon dioxide plus water molecule, plus you will have energy released in this process. So let's see, we got energy for aerobic conditions, and this was our aim, that is we required energy. So this is the second process, that is breaking of pyruvate, complete breaking into simpler forms. Carbon dioxide gas is formed, it is released out from the body. Then you have water, water can be utilized by the body, and then important here is the release of energy. The next process which occurs under anaerobic condition. Anaerobic means you have absence of oxygen in the environment or in the organism. So whenever oxygen is absent, then this case can further be divided into two cases. This anaerobic condition can also occur in our body, that is, if you talk of muscle cells of humans. So in muscle cells of humans, you observe anaerobic conditions sometimes. Or the next would be in yeast cells. So the anaerobic condition may be observed in muscle cells present inside our body or in the yeast cells. The end products of both the processes, end products means these, like the end products which we got in aerobic. If you are asked a question, what are the end products of aerobic respiration? So end products means product formed at the end, and these are carbon dioxide, water and energy. And if you are asked what are the end products whenever anaerobic respiration occurs in muscle cells, let's see, we have different kinds of end products in both the categories too. In muscle cells, what will happen? This pyruvate, okay, this pyruvate under absence of oxygen or anaerobic condition will break down and it would form lactic acid. And certainly it would release some amount of energy, but remember the amount of energy released in these anaerobic process would be very less compared to aerobic conditions. So here the amount of energy released is very high, but here the amount of energy released is very low. Now next we have yeast cell. So in yeast, what do you have? This pyruvate, you know, the first step is common for aerobic and anaerobic. So in the first step, glucose break down to form pyruvate. In turn, we are keeping the starting material same. Everywhere I am writing pyruvate. Why? Because in the first step, glucose formed this pyruvate. Now this pyruvate has different fate. Okay? That is, it has different destiny. If it gets aerobic condition, then it would form these end products and release high amount of energy. But if this pyruvate does not get oxygen, then these conditions can be observed in two groups. In the muscle cells, you have the formation of lactic acid with the release of very small amount of energy. And if anaerobic respiration occurs in yeast cell, then this pyruvate breaks down into ethanol. So this pyruvate breaks down into ethanol, then you have carbon dioxide gas also released, and then what you have? Again a very less amount of energy released out. These arrows I am trying to signify the quantity or amount of energy released in aerobic and anaerobic processes comparatively. So you can see that in yeast cells you have the presence of ethanol or the formation of ethanol, while in muscle cells pyruvate forms lactic acid. When this anaerobic respiration occurs in human muscle cell, because we said that in humans, every time you have aerobic conditions, you have plenty of oxygen available. But this anaerobic condition arises, suppose if whenever you perform a severe activity suddenly, okay, you undergo a severe activity, you start running suddenly, then sometimes if you have felt or observed, that is, whenever you do a sudden activity, the amount of oxygen required by your body increases, and because you are engaged in your severe activity, you cannot take whole amount of oxygen which is required at that single moment, and because of this your muscles feel deficiency of oxygen or lack of oxygen. So then they convert this pyruvate, they do not convert them into energy, and they convert, in the absence of oxygen, pyruvate into lactic acid, and this lactic acid then accumulates in your muscles, ikhatta ho jata hai, it accumulates in the muscle cells, and as a result you have or you experience painful cramps. Okay, you may even fail if you are running, then you may even fall down because of the formation of lactic acid in your muscle cells. So this is an account of cellular respiration, that is respiration occurring in the cell. First we said that complex carbohydrate, that is glucose. Glucose was 6 carbon containing compound. This is again of very importance. That is, glucose is 6 carbon containing compound. This glucose break down into simple carbohydrates, which is your pyruvate. So glucose broke down to form pyruvate, and pyruvate, as you can see from the formula, how many carbon does it contain? C3. C3 means it contains 3 carbons. So pyruvate was 3 carbon compound, and because, as you can see from the structural formula or from the chemical composition, you have lesser number of carbon, in turn you also have less number of oxygen and hydrogen. So compared to the glucose, this is much simpler compound. Then next we had what? This step of breaking complex carbohydrate into simpler forms, this is common for aerobic and anaerobic both kinds of respiration, and this occurs in cytoplasm of the cell. Why I am writing cytoplasm and all? Because we are dealing with cellular respiration. Now the next step, this step, we have not written the location where the steps occur. This breaking of pyruvate into carbon dioxide, water and energy in aerobic condition, this steps occurs in mitochondria. And hence, whenever in your previous classes you have read about mitochondria, different cell organelles, okay, in chapter 5, fundamental unit of life in class 9th. So mitochondria is also known as powerhouse of the cell, because this mitochondria is helpful in production of energy. Now you can tell why only mitochondria is called powerhouse, because this breaking of pyruvate into energy compound occurs in mitochondria. Sorry, okay. Then this anaerobic respiration, it has 2 different categories. I have told you the location here. This type of anaerobic respiration in humans occurs in muscle cells. And next you have anaerobic respiration in yeast cells. So this was an account of cellular respiration, different kinds of respiration and their different location and end products. Okay, and this lactic acid, remember I told you it is responsible for production of painful cramps in your muscles. When your muscles do not get enough energy, or when you perform a sudden activity, then the requirement of oxygen inside your body increases. But because you cannot undertake such large amount of oxygen at that moment, then because of deficiency of oxygen felt by your muscles, muscles cannot work properly. In anaerobic condition, the pyruvate breaks down to form lactic acid. This lactic acid gets accumulated in your muscle cells and stop them to function or to contract, which produces painful cramps in your muscles. So it is advised that before performing any sudden activity, you should undergo warming up. You should warm up and then you should perform the desired activity. So this is an account of cellular respiration. Now we have next, that is, we saw in every kind of respiration, energy was released. So this energy, the energy which is released in each kind of respiration is being converted into a energy currency of cell. That is, it is being converted to ATP, energy. Whenever it is formed at the same moment, or you can say it is immediately this energy released as the end product of respiration, as we saw in the previous slide, it is immediately converted into ATP. ATP is your adenosine triphosphate molecule. Okay, this ATP is also called energy currency of the cell. ATP is also called as energy currency of cell. So the energy which is produced, okay, some amount of it can be used immediately for your different body parts, and then the left amount of energy is immediately converted to the form of ATP. ATP, here A stands for adenosine, TP means triphosphate. Tri means you have 3 phosphate attached with your adenosine group. And this ATP is also called as energy currency of the cell. That is, in the cell, if you are asked, in what form is your energy present inside the cell? You would answer, energy present inside the cell is in the form of ATP. How this ATP is synthesized? So let's see synthesis of ATP. So we can say that for synthesis of ATP, energy is required. Then whenever as a result of respiration, energy would be released, either talking of aerobic or talking of anaerobic respiration, then you will see that you have ADP molecules in your cells already present. ADP is what? A again stands for the same thing, that is adenosine. D means here di, and P symbolizes phosphate. So you can say that we already have ADP in our cells, and what is our aim? We want to convert this ADP into ATP. How would we do that? I want to form ATP here. Okay, so the formation of, what is the difference between ADP and ATP? We have adenosine group here, we have the same adenosine group here, there is no change. See, in this ADP molecule you have 2 phosphate attached, okay, while in the ATP molecule on you have 3 phosphate molecules, which you can say 1 additional phosphate is present in ATP compared to ADP. So for this conversion, I told you, you require energy produced by cellular respiration. And now what I should add? I should add a phosphate group to this, because if I take ADP as my starting material and add a phosphate group, what I would get? I would get adenosine triphosphate, which is your ATP molecule. So this is the reaction for synthesis of ATP. For synthesis of ATP, you require energy. If this energy would not be present, then you cannot attach the phosphate to your ADP molecule. This phosphate which you are attaching, it is named as inorganic phosphate. Now, no need to get confused why this is called inorganic phosphate. What do you mean by inorganic? Okay, this is not of use at this level. Just remember that the phosphate which you are attaching to your ADP molecule is called inorganic phosphate. Then this phosphate would get attached and you will get a 3-phosphate compound, which is ATP. So this ATP can also be written as ADP molecule joined with a phosphate group. So this forms your ATP. These are the same molecules. Either you can write ATP as a whole molecule, or you can say that ADP molecule gets attached with a single phosphate group and it forms triphosphate compounds, which is ATP. And again, ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So this is energy, the energy released as the end product of respiration, either in aerobic or in anaerobic respiration. In both the processes, energy is being released. But the difference is what? In aerobic respiration, we have a large amount of energy released, while in anaerobic process, like in muscle cells, in yeast cells, you have very smaller amounts of energy released. So we saw that this energy, it is used up by the cell for its processes, and the remaining amount of energy is immediately converted to ATP, and this ATP is called as the energy currency of the cell. Then we saw in detail how the process of ATP synthesis or the conversion of energy to ATP occurs. So we have that you have ADP molecules already present inside the cell. When this ADP molecule is attached with another molecule of inorganic phosphate, then you get a triphosphate compound, that is your energy currency in the form of ATP. Now we also have one more thing, that how energy is being obtained. Whenever any cell requires energy, how would it obtain? So we have that this adenosine, let's suppose it is attached by 3 phosphate groups. And these are the waves. Generally we did in the previous chemistry chapters, we represent them with a straight bond, either with a single, double or triple bond. But here the bonds I am representing with a wavy line, because these bonds are high energy bonds, okay? We'll not go in much detail. These are phosphodiester bonds. But you should know that these are being represented by wavy line to signify that these are high energy containing bonds. And what happens whenever your cell requires energy? Then any one of the bond is broken off. From this ATP molecule, any one of the phosphate would be separated. And as a result, what you get is, your ATP molecule will again be converted to ADP, plus one of the phosphate group, inorganic phosphate, would be separated or would be released out. And the energy, if you try to find the amount of energy, then by the breaking of a single phosphate bond, the energy which you have is approximately 30.5 kilojoules per mole. That is, if you break one phosphate bond, then approximately you get 30.5 kilojoules of energy with you. And in turn, if the cell requires more energy, then it breaks other phosphate bonds also. And as the cell has only one molecule of ATP, it has many ATP molecules, so it can break bonds of the ATP molecules, how much amount of energy it requires. So this is all about breathing and respiration. Now in this chapter we are left with 2 topics, that is transportation. Again we'll study transportation is generally the circulatory system of humans. So we'll be dealing with the transportation system in both animals and plants. In animals or humans, I told you it is the circulatory system, that is your heart, how the heart pumps the blood around various body parts. And for the plants, what you have transportation of water and food. Water is transported with the help of xylem and food is transported with the help of phloem. This all you have done in quite brief in your previous 9th standard. So we'll be doing that, and then you have excretory system left. So this would finish our unit in further 2 to 3 lectures, I guess. So I hope you have understood today's video lecture. Thank you for joining the class. If you have any sort of doubt, you can contact us anytime. Till then, stay tuned to our channel, stay home, stay safe. Thank you. No, ma'am. Stop.